Welcome back for another week's episode of Everything Embodiment. I'm your host, Amber Miller. I can't believe we're here for another week. I told myself I'd do 8 episodes and reassess, and I just keep getting those signs from the universe to keep going. One of them being this morning I got an email that according to Good Pods, I am number 48 in the top 100 of spirituality podcasts for the month of November. So that was exciting and a little boost to keep going. I'm grateful for every stream, every like, every follow, every review. Thank you. It just means a lot to me. I am someone that never thought I had a voice, and I am grateful to know that that's not true and use it to empower and teach others. So that all said, how are we all doing? There is a lot going on astrologically, but hey, Mercury stationed direct, so there is that. I hope you all fared well from the lessons there. I know I definitely had a few wake-up calls. And, the theme of my lessons were to slow down and be present. I have worked in a trauma center laboratory the majority of my career. I switched hospitals, but I've been at my current place of employment for over 9 years now. So I think this is the longest I've had a job at one place. And I've been in this career field for almost 15 years. I have been specializing in the biochemistry department for the last 6 years, and if you would have told me that in high school, I would have laughed in your face. Much like I would have if you'd said I'd end up on this whole spiritual journey, but that's a story for another time. In high school, I had no self-worth, no one cheering me on, no one making me believe that I could be anything or anything that I wanted, and I had no real motivation. So despite my current very real desire to hang up the lab coat for good and dreaming to transition to my everything embodiment work full time, it was through this Mercury retrograde that made me pause and not only be entirely and fully grateful for where I am, but so genuinely proud of myself. And here's why. I made a bit of a mistake at work, and I cannot stress enough that this was nothing patient related, and in the grand scheme of how the lab works, it was minor. But for me, at work, I don't make mistakes. So this was a huge blow to my ego that I could even make this kind of an error, and I was sweating it. So I called my supervisor at his home on a weekend, and I spilled my guts to him about the oversight and what I did to rectify it, but I was fully anticipating some disciplinary backlash. Much to my surprise, he seemed satisfied with how the problem was handled and told me not to worry. I pulled out all of my grounding techniques and tricks, but honestly, it took a long time to shake that anxious feeling. I'd have this crippling thought that because of my mistake, I'd get fired, I'd lose my income, we'd be financially devastated. Anytime my mind would calm itself down and go somewhere else, I would re-traumatize myself by reminding myself of this mistake over and over again, and I'd feel that hormone cascade rush begin all over again. Finally, I asked myself, why did I do this? Why, with all of my knowledge of energetic healing and basically a squeaky clean record at work, why was I catastrophizing this? Catastrophizing is often rooted in trauma that disrupts a sense of safety, control, or predictability. Traumatic experiences such as abuse, neglect, bullying, unpredictable environments can lead to hypervigilance and fear of worst-case scenarios. This happens because the brain, conditioned by past trauma, overactivates survival mechanisms, perceiving threats where they may not exist. Upon reflection, I now know that this mistake was made for more than the lesson to slow down and be present, though that too, but also I have more healing to do. Outside of my work life, I have taken on a very direct approach to healing money wounds once and for all. And in addition to that, I am fully confronting my weight. So I've talked about that before. This catastrophizing about losing my job and money was just another layer in my money wound. So a lot of you are familiar with my journey, and you'll know that I've bounced around learning as much as I can about all things spirituality and healing. I started with mediumship, I bounced all over to human design, angel Reiki, Akashic records, and more. all of what I have learned has led me to where I am now, offering these sessions and intuitive guidance. I have to call it that because it's not just one thing. It's not just mediumship. It's not just Reiki. It's everything. So something that I just feel this like real passion for is identifying these subconscious beliefs or blocks, reprogramming the belief, and then releasing the block. So this mistake at work forced me to see that my tendency to catastrophize was showing me I have some subconscious energy to work through. I mean, we all do, but this energy, by presenting itself, was letting me know it's ready to be released. It is no longer serving me to react to stressful situations by preparing myself. No, not just preparing myself, but anticipating the worst. I opened up my records and I asked to be shown why I catastrophize. I was immediately shown memories of my mom doing the same thing. Something happened that caused my mom to verbalize her own fears in a worst case scenario that my young child mind had no way of knowing was just that, a projection of the worst case scenario or fear. My 6-year-old brain believed it as fact. I watched her time and time again react the same way. So this solidified in my brain that this was how you control a situation, especially in uncertainty. As young kids, we have so little control of our lives that this catastrophizing felt like control. So here I am, 38 years old, operating on subconscious responses created by my 6-year-old self, which I just have to shout out my 6-year-old self. She was such a brave kid that really handled what life gave her like a champ. And I feel like I had to shout her out right there. So using what I know from my work with energy healing, I worked to reprogram that belief, and reprogram that belief that I need to assume the worst for protection and control. And I let that old belief system go. So I am the biggest believer in signs and synchronicities. I talk about it all the time, and it's how my spiritual journey even started, was these signs. So on the way home from picking up my kids from school last week, I was following this card that had a license plate holder that said Philippians 4:19. I didn't know what that meant because while I believe in God, I don't know much about church God. So anyway, the license plate holder caught my eye at a red light, and I was reading it over and over again in my mind, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. But when I did, I realized like, this is a message for me. And as soon as I kind of declared that, and this is all in my mind and all at a red light, I felt this comfort just wash over me, even though Bible verses have never been a source of comfort to me personally. It was just this knowing that I was receiving a message from my team. So anyway, moving on. Later that night, I opened up my TikTok, and you guys, I am being 100% honest. The first post that I saw said, "But my God shall supply all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Philippians 4:19. This was such a profound sign for me as I work to let go of the old programming to stress about money, and more than that, an affirmation that I'm on the right track, to trust in God, universe, source, to take care of our needs even when facing challenges. This ties together and puts to the test all my beliefs in manifestation and trust in God. Or if you're uncomfortable with that, you can replace that with universe. I wasn't comfortable saying God for years. So I am at a place now where I've replaced universe with God. So anyway, such a powerful affirmation. God will provide. So I am just so passionate about all forms of healing, and I'm grateful to have a platform to share my knowledge and be a source of information. If you feel guided, please check out my website at emeraldoakenergy.com, or check out my social media pages, everything.embodiment. I'm on TikTok for now, Instagram, and YouTube. And if it feels right, book a session and let me assist you on your own healing journey. We're all in this together, and I truly want to teach you how you can do this work yourself and help you become the most healed version of you. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, it was brief, but it got straight to the point. I would be so grateful if you'd give it a rating or review, or even share this episode with someone that you know. I have some very exciting things planned for this podcast and some special guests coming up, and I cannot wait to share. So stay grounded in this holiday season. Grab yourself a Reiki session from me before I pull it from my offerings in just a couple weeks. I'm going to pull it at the end of the year so I can focus more on these intuitive guidance sessions. You guys, it really lights me up to be able to do this. I was such a hurt, traumatized person, and I just am living a life better than I ever expected, and I know it's going to get even better. So head into the new year with the lessons from 2024 and the excitement of a clean slate of a new year. Thank you so much for listening, and take care.